Hello, NFL fans. Welcome back to another episode of Hurdle the Line, the premier amateur NFL podcast. And with me are my co-host, Batch, Sam, and I, as always, Chapman, back for another week of this wonderful podcast. How are we, gentlemen?
I
Yeah,
am very good. I am very
Oh,
good, thanks. How are you, Chapman?
I'm doing great. Sam, what you drinking?
just Coke Zero. Nothing special.
Okay. I thought it was gonna be we were gonna go down the like craft beer wormhole there with football fans. Anyway, welcome guys. Yes, it's June officially. Very exciting. And we did do a June podcast last week, but it's still, again, it's the second week of June. It feels like we're still in the first week. Whatever. This is what they call the in America the dog days of summer in terms of sports. However, we have a very, 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 very interesting NBA Finals with the Spurs and the Knicks. I don't know. Are you guys paying attention to this at all?
Yeah, roughly. Seeing the Knicks doing really well.
They are. They are up 2-0 on Saturday. I told my wife on Friday, I said, I'm going to get up early on Saturday. I'm going to watch the game two on the couch with the puppy with some coffee. And I did that, and it was very satisfying. It was an awesome game. If you did not get to watch, the Spurs were pretty much in control. It felt like they were pretty much in control. I mean, it's kind of back and forth, but uh, and then, or excuse me, the Knicks. The Knicks were in control of the game most of the time, and then the Spurs made this awesome comeback in the fourth quarter. But then the Knicks pulled it out after Wemby misses a game-winning shot right at the end, and he fouls Brunson, who hits a free throw to win the game by 1 point. It was awesome. Anyway,
That sounds epic.
there's game three tonight in New York, Madison Square Gardens. I am not a New York sports fan, but this is honestly one of the more lovable. Not there's no lovable New York team, but if there was one, it is this Knicks team. I don't know why I really like it, but I also love Wemby. I like watching his greatness in that young Spurs team. So we will see what happens. But this is not a basketball podcast, gentlemen. This is a NFL podcast, as you can see by all three of us showing off. We've got the Browns Future Stadium, we have SoFi, and we have Mercedes-Benz. SoFi and Mercedes-Benz that will be hosting the other football, which is also starting this week, which is the World Cup. Who do you guys root for? Sam, I think you're definitely an England fan, I'm assuming. And then
Yeah,
Batch.
definitely England.
Yeah, definitely England.
Excellent. Okay. Well, they're my second favorite team. Are you guys excited about the World Cup at all?
Yes, I'm excited. I think more excitement levels will build as the tournament gets closer. I'm just, as you said, I'm in the dog days of summer awaiting this to start.
Sam?
Um, yeah, I suppose. It's hard to get excited about this England team, to be honest. So I'll probably be once the actual tournament starts, it might be different. But at the moment, I just can't get excited about it.
I feel like that's like a thing for everybody right now, but this is my third World Cup since moving here. Third? Yeah, I think so. And I feel like, yeah, I mean, I think the last one, everybody was really, after the Euros and everything, it felt like, or it was with the Euros finals, I can't remember anyway, but it always feels like it just starts and then everybody's like really excited. But I think there's just so much negativity sort of around this one just because of the expense of it, sort of some of the politics around it and everything. But like you said, once kickoff happens, I think people are going to get into it. Also, the expanding of too many teams. But anyway, again, this is not that football podcast. I am vamping a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, we're glad you're here. As always, we're going to start off with some news bits around the NFL. And weirdly enough, it's been kind of a busy summer, more so than normal. We had the huge trade last week, right before the show. Sam, who was a dedicated husband, was just dedicated to his wife's birthday, had to pull himself away to talk about his team getting Myles Garrett. But also there was another trade right after, which was the one we all were expecting and knew about, which was the Eagles trading AJ Brown to the Patriots. They get the Patriots trade they get AJ Brown for a 27 fifth round pick and a 2028 first round pick. Do we have any thoughts on this one, guys?
Yeah, it's It's a good trade. A happy AJ Brown is a competent, successful AJ Brown. He can do a job if he's happy. And unfortunately, it looked from an outsider, his happiness and his mojo had been lost at the Eagles. So hopefully Drake, and it gives Drake May, who was up there with MVP, who wants to make an advance towards MVP. It gives him target. It gives him a good skill set receiver to throw at now.
Yeah. Sam, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of, I think it was the worst kept secret that this was going to happen, and I think it suited both teams. Obviously, AJ Brown didn't want to be at the Eagles anymore. The Eagles were happy to, work with what they've got. Obviously, they drafted Mekhi Lemon, and then obviously still have Devontae Smith. And yeah, AJ Brown gets to go to a team which was, in the Super Bowl last year, going to be the number one wide receiver at the team. Infinitely makes their wide receiver core better. And yeah, it just works for both teams. And as well, the Patriots don't lose a first round pick in what is going to be debated as one of the best drafts in the last few years, sort of thing, the way that it's going and the way that it's being reported. So it works out for both teams, I think.
Yeah. And you know what? If you get AJ Brown, who is still in his prime, I believe, still a top five ish wide receiver for the next 3 years on a team that, just came off a Super Bowl run, why not? A couple of other things. Let's do the wide receivers first. So there was a couple of extensions or contract signings, which my team signed its wide receiver number one, Drake London, to a $141 million deal, 4 years, 100 million guaranteed, making London the third or fourth highest paid wide receiver in the history of the league. Also, in that same vein, Christian Watson of the Packers signed an extension for 4 years, 115 million, excuse me, 110.5 million with 31 million signing bonus, a little less than Drake. I will speak as a Falcons fan. I'm very happy that Drake got paid. I think Drake is a top 10 wide receiver. I think he has played with some dog crap QBs. But when he had Cousins, who was hitting on all cylinders during that one brief shining moment last year, I think Drake is a guy that can play and that can be that sort of possession receiver. He's not a really a vertical threat, but the Falcons don't need him to be. And I think he's really complements the offense, and I love him as a leader in the locker room, and he's my favorite Falcon, so I'm very happy about that. With Christian Watson, I mean, I think the Packers, they've had a bit of a, what would you say, revolving door in terms of receivers, and Christian Watson, when healthy, he's a good wide receiver one, and I think this contract makes a lot of sense for both sides. So I think both of these signings are good. Sam, I don't know if you got any feelings, negative, positive, sideways, or whatever. I think we were getting ahead of that Puka contract, which I'm very happy about. So yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that Puka contract is going to happen until next year now anyway. But
Yeah.
yeah, I really like Drake London. And I think he's kind of, like you say, I think he's one of the best in terms of red zone threats, because he's so physical. You can just put the ball into him and he will go up there and catch it and stuff. So I do really like London. I think he deserves to get paid. The Watson one's interesting because if he can prove this season that he can be healthy, then it's a great piece of business. But the thing that he's had throughout his whole career is the fact that he has just been constantly injured. I know he spent a lot of money working with a university to help understand hamstring injuries and develop a bit of work around that in terms of fixing hamstrings for the long run. So hopefully, if he can stay fit, I mean, again, he has the ability. He just can't stay on the field, and that's it's his big negative. So if he can stay fit and healthy, then I think the Packers will be, he's a great wide receiver for them.
Yeah. Well said, Sam. We also had a couple of other extensions. You had Derek Hall of the Seahawks signed a 3-year extension, 42 million, 21 guaranteed, and then Nick Herbig of the Steelers signed a $100 million extension with $42 million guaranteed. Don't know how long that one is. Last couple other little tidbits here. We found out that Michael Parsons will not be able to return until at least week 8. Funny enough, the Packers will be playing the Cowboys on that week 8. So I'm sure there's a lot of motivation for him to try to make it back to play that game against the team that traded him away. Caleb Williams is the cover of Madden 27 this year.
He is going to be the one getting the curse.
So I thought that was quite interesting. But if you really think about, the new blood of the NFL and sort of where, they want this young fan base, you always want to keep bringing in young people and a younger fan demographic. It makes a lot of sense. I was really surprised that JSN was not the guy because like he had such a great year, won the Super Bowl, offensive player of the year, all that. If you're not going to put a quarterback on there, but I guess Caleb had a great year last year. Well, had a really good year. So anyway, it's fun.
They went with the guy who did the crazy play, and I think because it's the image, isn't it? I mean, we had the same last year with Saquon where he did the reverse hurdle. I think it has more drama and a bit more to it than just a simple run. So it kind of suits the way that I suppose Madden wants to go.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
It's quite funny. People from outsiders were saying the curse has already kicked in because the day after it was announced, they announced that they were pushing on with their development in Hammond, Indiana, for their new stadium.
Yes, you stole my thunder there, Batch. But yes, I was going to get to that.
Sorry.
So we could possibly have the Chicago Bears, the iconic Chicago Bears, one of the, if you think of the NFL, you think of the Chicago Bears, and they could be moving their stadium to Indiana. That is amazing corporate NFL whatnot. Anyway, and then finally, Super Bowl winner and 2-time Super Bowl player, mostly known for his time in the Seattle Seahawks, quarterback Russell Wilson retires. And he is going to be taking on a role. I guess he's taking on the Matt Ryan role at CBS. So very interesting,
Did he officially say he was retiring, or did he just say that he was moving into working in media? I know that obviously kind of comes hand in hand, but I didn't see anything about an official retirement.
Yeah.
I just saw that he was moving into.
I think he retired on the day of the Myles Garrett trade, which is why it didn't get.
That'd be why I got mixed up.
He got totally nailed. And what's funny about that too is like, well, he had no Garrett. So like Matt Ryan didn't retire for a full year because he was still getting paid by we traded him to the Colts and he had 2 years left on his deal. So he basically that year got to work for CBS and still made like $40 million. Anyway, but yeah, I think Russell, since he's been signing these 1-year deals, I think he got it up. Probably a Hall of Famer on the border. I think maybe we'll see.
Probably not a first ballot. I don't think.
No. Oh no.
Eventually, though, I think he will.
He made a lot of Pro Bowls, which I find to be laughable. And then obviously the Super Bowl win, and then back-to-back Super Bowl appearances was a Malcolm Butler interception away from winning back-to-back Super Bowls, which would have definitely made him win. Anyway, we shall see. All right, guys. This episode, we're going to talk about the schedule, which was released about 3 to 4 weeks ago, I think, but we have been covering other things. And what we're going to do is I'd love to hear anybody's thoughts. And we're just going to throw out teams and just like, who's got a murderer's row, who might be that Patriots of this year who could, go on a great run because they do have a softer schedule. And then any other interesting quirks. I'm sure we'll talk about the 49ers having to travel, a bejesus number of miles like they do every single year. And then finally, we're going to end the episode. We're going to talk a little bit of Super Bowl odds, post draft, post June 1st, free agency slash cuts, whatever we want to call that. And then, yeah, we'll wrap things up. So, does anybody want to? And this also doesn't have to be scheduled. We're also just going to throw out primetime matchups that we like, um, and other bits. So, yeah, that's how we're doing
Um,
it. I don't have much of a. I didn't craft this episode. Normally, like I like to sit in the lab, but anyway. So, is there any schedules that you guys are thinking might be a bit cumbersome for any teams?
well, Bears have, if you look at the strength of schedule, the Bears is the toughest schedule for the year. Now, um, that that could be quite cumbersome considering the Lions, if you look at theirs, is classed as the easiest schedule according to the market adjustment. So, they both want playoffs, and Bears need to build on what they had, whereas Lions need to come back and get back to where they were. So it could make it quite an interesting NFC North.
That's a good one. That's a good one. The Bears do have, according to the stats figure, the hardest opponent win percentage that of anyone. You know who's number two on that list? The
Is it the Arizona?
Dolphins.
I was going to say, is it Arizona? Because
It's Arizona Dolphins. Yeah, because of your division. Yes.
yeah, I think as always, Arizona are getting stiffed because they're in a very difficult division. Yeah, so I think that's going to be. I feel for Arizona in a way because they're always trying to obviously improve and get better, and it's just not working, and they're ending up just being the little brothers of the division and getting their ass whooped every single game. Um, but I think on top of that, even you look at some of the other teams that they've got as well. I think that it's just not a nice schedule. I know
Mm.
that they're in the top. I think they're definitely in the top five of the hardest schedules. Um,
Yeah, according to my graphic here, I've got them as fourth hardest schedule.
See, on mine, it's they're technically the hardest. It doesn't have. It has the top five I have is Cardinals, Dolphins, Panthers, Cowboys, and Rams. But
Hmm.
it's different. This is the problem with the whole idea of the strength of schedule. Is there's so many different variants on what people deem as difficult.
Well, I usually think it's based on records from the previous season, right? Like
Mm.
there's nothing futuristic to do it on. So, um, you know, so somewhere in there, it's like, yeah, I have Bears, Dolphins, Cardinals, Packers, Chiefs, and then there's Patriots, Raiders, Bills, Chargers, which is interesting. Um, I think for Arizona, having to play the Rams, the Seahawks, and the 49ers both twice, and they don't even have a quarterback is
Mm.
almost six losses. Plus, you guys, who are the NFC West playing this year out of conference?
Um, I should know this. I think we have the out of conference.
Yeah,
It's
so yeah, who's
it's
that?
the what's it called? The Chiefs division. Sorry.
So you're playing the AFC West. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So when you look at it like the Cardinals schedule as a whole, it's Chargers, Seahawks, Niners. Then they do have the Giants, Lions, Rams, Broncos, Cowboys, Seahawks, Rams, Chiefs, Commanders, Eagles. They do have the Jets, the Saints, the Raiders, and the 49ers. So it's we've obviously got to play the NFC East, the AFC West, and then the other teams in between. But it wouldn't shock me if they were in contention to be the number one pick for 20.
Well, I absolutely think that's their goal. I mean, I really do.
They'll be
I think it's
top three no matter what. There's a couple. I think, like I say, the Dolphins are probably the other one that,
yeah.
like we've already mentioned, their schedule's pretty hard as well. So,
Batch, I have to be honest with you. I think it's going to be difficult for you guys not to win 5 games this season.
Yeah. See, I'm just looking now. First 2 games are both in Florida. Oh, Bucks. Well, it's going to be revenge for Baker, obviously. Yeah, looking at it, Jets is winnable. Titans going to be difficult. See, I don't know. 5 games is going to be a challenge because thinking about it, Bengals, I think we'd lose that. Colts, depends if you've got a fit Daniel. Ravens, they'll beat us. Giants, again, depends what Harbaugh can get out. Falcons, you'll beat us, though it would be good to beat our ex-coach. Bengals again. Raiders is winnable, but it depends who their quarterback is by week 12. Texans, they like to beat us. Saints are improving. Steelers, obviously, we love to beat the Steelers at our stadium. Titans, difficult. Ravens, winnable. Depends. At our stadium is winnable. Jets, winnable. Panthers, probably get
winnable.
Again, it depends on their QB if he turns up or not. Because if he's throwing, he's very good, but he's inconsistent.
I mean,
I think you could put 5 wins together.
Yeah.
The problem is whether you will. That'll be the difficulty. I think that there are 5 games which I think, in the balance of it, you could probably get a win out of. It just depends. It really, honestly, just depends. Like playing the Panthers week 3, I think is a benefit rather than playing them later in the year.
Yeah,
I think the Jets week 5. I mean, you should be beating the Jets.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Like you say, you like to beat the Steelers at home. So I mean, if you can go on a win of 3 wins there, going into the Ravens game, you'd like to think that you'd at least give it a go. You probably wouldn't beat them, but you'd give it a go. And again, anything can happen in division games. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
Then you've got the Titans, which you should win. And
exactly.
So I think there's the possibility to win. You've just got to, once you nail down your QB spot, you've then just got to, the team's got to gel together. And that's the biggest problem is, you've got so many new faces now, is how will that team work together? And once you've decided on your QB, who's going to be the guys to build that offense? The defense will, with that, I mean, I know obviously you don't have Garrett, but that defense was still doing stuff. So it still will do stuff. And I mean, Jared Verse is a great addition to it. It just isn't the same, but it will still work. You've just got to build that line, and that you'll be fine. So I think there's winnable games in there. It's just whether you can just sustain. If you can sustain a run, you could get easily 5 wins there. It's just can you sustain those runs?
Yeah, I agree.
Let's have a look at this Rams schedule. Let me trying to pull it up here. You guys start off in Melbourne, correct?
Yeah.
Let's see here. You go Niners, Giants, Broncos, Eagles, Bills. That's a pretty tough first 5 games, I would say.
Yeah.
Then you go Cardinals, Raiders, Chargers, Commanders, Cardinals, which that at least Chargers are the only real team in that batch. Mm-hmm. Then you go Packers, Chiefs, Niners, Cowboys, Seahawks. Dadgum, man.
It is then Seahawks again. It's a very tough schedule, but there's at the end of the day, you've got to beat the best to be the best, and I think that's where the Rams are all in this year. So to be all in, you've got to kind of beat these guys, and these are the two. That's the benefit of finishing second in your group and going against the two other very good divisions.
I didn't see this one doesn't have your buy in it, but I mean, yeah, but also the NFL is just also getting in the tournament and getting hot. That's really
We
it
have
too.
our,
At the same
our
time,
bye week is after the second Cardinals game, so between
yeah,
the Cardinals and the Packers.
that's a brutal schedule though.
Mm.
That's a hard. That's gonna be. I mean, we're watching a lot of these. I mean, these are some freaking good
I
fun
think
games. I love.
we have the joint number of prime time games this year with 7 as the record. I think 7 is the record, and we're tying it. So
Yeah, we weirdly had 6 last year. I don't know why. Anyway, that's a really interesting schedule. Okay, I let's anybody else. I want to look at the Bills schedule because they have a very what is on paper a very very easy schedule. So they go Texans, Lions, Chargers, Pats, Rams. That's not an easy start to the year. Then they go Raiders, Ravens, Vikings, Jets, Dolphins. All right, so there's 2 hard ones and 3 easy ones. Then it's Chiefs, Pats, Packers, Bears, Broncos. And then they finish the year with Dolphins, Jets. So they get 2 give me's at the very end. Well,
mm.
or what should be give me's, depending on how they play. Um, that's a that's a schedule I would not hate, to be honest with you, because you don't there's only it looks like you've got the Chiefs, then you play your division rival, the Pats, then the Packers and the Bears. That's a and then the Broncos. That's 5 games in a row. That's tough. But
Mm.
then you end with the Dolphins and the Jets, and you start with that with the Jets and the Dolphins. So you know you just need to win 3 of those 5 games
I
ish,
think if
and then
those first 5 games, if they can go, even if they can go 3-2 in those first 5 games, then they've got a nice mix of, like you say, out of another four out of 5 wins there,
yeah.
and then it's just a case of ride the storm against the Chiefs, Bills, Packers, Bears, Broncos, and then you've got another 2 wins. I mean, luckily they've got what should be 4 wins.
Yeah.
So you know that if you can get into a position where, like I say, if you can win 3 of the opening 5, the next 5, 4 of them, that puts you on 7, and then another 2, maybe another 3 out of that, you're looking at 10 and 7, which should get you in the playoffs in that division.
I love that there is the Bills Rams Week 5 Monday night game. That could be a Super Bowl preview potentially. Also, I just think that's going to be a really fun game. The old gunslinger against, you know, I mean, Jared Allen. Josh Allen's not old. I mean, not young anymore. I think this is his 7th season. I think we're going in 7 years now. Anyway, but um, yeah, I think that'll be a really fun game. Uh, are there any? Is there another team we should go through and look at that you guys are?
There's a team that I think have a really friendly schedule, and they're in your division, and it's the Saints.
Mm,
And I think it could really benefit them this year, having such a relatively easy schedule. I think it's the second easiest in the league this year.
hmm
Um,
Let's have a look. So they open with the Lions and the Ravens. Not super easy.
no,
Then they go Raiders, Falcons. They should beat the Raiders. Falcons will be a coin flip. Vikings, Giants, Steelers. All winnable games ish on paper.
Mhm.
Browns, Panthers, Bears. Bengals, Packers, Panthers, then Buccaneers, Cardinals, at the Falcons, and then Buccaneers. So 3 out of their last 4 games are our division. My only thing is, how good is Tyler Shuck? I really enjoyed watching him last year, and I absolutely can't stand the Saints. I don't think their offense is terrible, and I think they might be able to play. I think Kellen Moore was a Moore's it's Kellen Moore is their coach. I always forget. Kellen
Yep.
Moore's the Dallas. Who's the
Yep.
Dallas coach?
Schoonamaker?
Schottenheimer.
Sorry. Yeah.
The younger Schottenheimer. That's right. Um, yeah, I thought Kellen Moore did a decent job. We will see.
Didn't they sign a chain? Or we called him Etienne until we said he was actually called a chain. They signed him in the off season, though, didn't they?
My biggest concern with the Saints, and it's the same every single year with the Saints, is can their team stay on the field? They are one of the most injury prone teams in the league,
Right.
and you look at that offense. Alvin Kamara misses games. We know Chris Olave. Obviously, he's had multiple concussions. Jordan Tyson is coming into the league, obviously off that big injury that he got in college. And there's obviously a number of other players in that offense who do like an injury, or not like an injury, but tend to pick up injuries. So for me, I think the biggest hurdle that the Saints will have is keeping players on the field. Because if they can keep players on the field, we saw that Shook can perform to a high level, but again, it needs to be sustained, and he needs to have the players available to be able to do it. And I think if they can keep the team fit, I think there is winnable games most weeks for them. I think, obviously, I think the one thing I will say about the whole of the NFC South is I think everyone can beat everyone in that division. I think it is the case in most divisions that at least there is some competitive element to it. But I do think with the way that the division is set up, I think any team could win the division, but any team could come last in the division. So it'd be interesting to see how those. I think those are the most important games within your division or within the whole of the Saints Buccaneers is who will win their 6 individual games.
Yeah. I also think for the NFC South, we're in this weird thing where the quarterbacks in this division are so volatile in terms of their ups and downs. And the Falcons obviously have the worst quarterback position, I think, or situation, or not the worst, the most unknown of the other three. You know what you have with Young. You'll see. I think this is sort of his last real prove it year. Baker Mayfield is what he is. He can win you games, but then also, he's injury prone, and then he can be inconsistent. And then, Tyler Shough is still, going to be a second year quarterback, though. I think your inclination to like Kellen Moore and see what he built around him, even though if you look at the numbers, he was no better than what was the other guy they had? Not Ritter, that was our guy,
Spencer Rattler.
But it looked nicer. It did. Like every time I saw the Saints, it did look nicer. So I think you're right, Sam. So we shall see on that one. I mean, the thing is, whoever comes out of that NFC South, and knock on wood, but you never know with these things. We've been in a lot of Super Bowls the last 10 years, funny enough, but I don't think that team is going to be contending. So we shall see.
What is the Falcons schedule like? I mean, obviously you'll be still playing
the third place schedule. Weirdly, the third place schedule. Yeah. I'll walk you through it. We open with the Steelers, which is the second time we've done this in 3 years. And weirdly enough, we have never beat the Steelers I don't think I think we've opened with them like weirdly so many times over the last like 20 years. I remember there was an overtime game when I was living in LA that I went and watched at a Steelers bar in Los Angeles. It was like the weirdest. It was like a 9-10 game or something like that. Anyway, don't want to bore you. So we open the Steelers and we go Panthers, Packers, Saints, Ravens. Let me get them. So the first 4 games are Steelers, Panthers, Packers, Saints. Okay. But then we go, the Saints game's on a Monday night. The Ravens game's on the Saints game's on a Thursday night. The Ravens game is on a Monday. And then I think the Bears game's on a Sunday. And then we play the 49ers, Buccaneers, and Bengals. The Bengals in Madrid. I will be there. And then the Chiefs. So there's a real chunky middle part of the schedule that's sad. And then we go Vikings, Lions, Browns, Commanders, Bucks, Saints, Panthers. I think that's I don't think that's the easiest. We're ranked the 4th easiest schedule. which I don't really get, but we shall see. We shall see.
is just down to I think a lot of it is down to the fact that, you know, Commanders didn't have a good year. Obviously, your division as a whole, I think, was pretty much everyone was on a losing schedule. Well, it's on a losing record, sorry. Bengals was on a losing record. It's just there's a lot of teams that were on a losing record that you wouldn't have expected to be in that position or had very
Yeah.
poor seasons.
Yeah.
I think it kind of skews the figures a bit because, even the Ravens didn't have the greatest of records and that. So that's probably why. But I think the problem is it's when you actually look at those teams individually, if they're fit, like a lot of those, there are quite a few of those teams which actually could, are pretty good.
Yeah.
Obviously, Ravens being one, Packers, Steelers will have to see because I just don't know how the Steelers are going to be. I know Aaron Rodgers is essentially going to be his final year, new head coach and everything. So I don't really.
Well, it's his new old head coach.
Yeah, new old head coach.
No, it's more of just it's weird that we've actually never beaten the Steelers. We've never beaten the Steelers in Pittsburgh. We have beaten them in the world, but we've never beat them in Pittsburgh, I think is the thing. I pulled up the Cowboys schedule because there's a lot of little hubbub because this is going to kind of lead us into a little bit more of these primetime games. But anyway, the Dallas opens with two division games, the Giants and the Commanders. Then it's Ravens, Texans, Bucks. Then Packers, Eagles, Cardinals, Colts, 49ers, Texans, Eagles, Seahawks, Rams, Jaguars, Giants, Commanders. I'm going to be really honest with you guys. I am definitely a Dallas Cowboys hater, and they annoy me, but I might put some money on the over for this team. I'm going to look and see what it is because I don't think the schedule is horrible for them. What do you guys think?
I think they've actually done quite a solid job from a draft. They've got a good coach, and their defensive coach has been given quite a lot of talent to work with now. Whereas last season, Jerry basically said it's the defense's fault. We never made it to the playoffs. So I'm with you. I think they could easily beat their over.
What is their over at the moment?
It opened in February 8.5, and now it's to 9.5.
So what we're looking at, say double Giants, double Commanders.
Yep.
Buccaneers, Cardinals,
Colts, Titans. You're beating the Jags. You're going to have to beat a good team.
There's the 9. And then one of the Eagles, one of the twice against the Eagles, 49ers, Packers, Texans, Ravens, or Rams.
Correct.
Or the Seahawks. So I think they could probably make 10 wins.
Yep.
As long as it doesn't come at the expense of the Rams. But yeah, I think if you're looking at that, I mean, I think there's the real possibility they could. If I was to bet on someone to beat the over under, I think they could do it because again, their offense, if Dak's firing on all cylinders, that offense can be very potent, and now they have a defense that could potentially back it up.
Yeah, I agree. I like it. Let's move on to just sort of primetime matchups. Are there any exciting primetime games that I've already mentioned one, the Bills Rams game on Monday Night Football week 5. Batch, do you got one you want to throw out that you're excited about?
Yeah, obviously, the one primetime game the Browns get whole season versus Steelers. So, Squealers. That's one I'm looking forward to. Obviously, Rams at Broncos could be fun.
That's is that Christmas? Is that the Christmas Day game?
No, Rams at Broncos is Sunday Night Football, week 3.
Okay. Nice. Sam, you got one you want to throw out?
Um, I mean, week one might be interesting. The Patriots Seahawks, the
I agree.
Super Bowl replay, that could be an interesting one.
Yeah.
I'd obviously be tuning in to see that because I think that would be an interesting way to see how both teams have progressed or regressed over the. It's hard to say after week one, but it'd just be interesting to see how those two play out. The other one because I always look at the Thursday night games because I always think that Thursday seems to get the I don't know it's where for years we had awful games on a Thursday.
Yeah.
And
And then
again,
Amazon bought the package and said, "You better give us some good games,"
yeah,
which has helped.
and I think there are a couple games. I think the Chiefs Rams game again could be really interesting. That'll be week 13. So I mean, Mahomes should be back by that point. So again,
Yep.
last time Chiefs and the Rams played each other was an unbelievable game. So
Yeah.
not for my heart, but it'd be great to see a fire out like that. I think the Niners Chargers could be a very interesting game. And then there was another one that I saw. Seahawks Broncos, I thought would be an interesting one from a defensive element because obviously, the Seahawks were one of the best defenses last year, and so were the Broncos. So again, it'd be nice to see. Probably not great from a entertainment perspective if you're wanting necessarily a high scoring game, but if you want to see two teams that are excellent on the other side of the ball, I think that'll be a really interesting game to watch.
Yeah. I had one. Okay, I know this is a little self-serving, but I won't. But there is a Monday Night Football game that I'm excited about, and that is Week 4, where the Falcons and the Saints will play on Monday Night Football again. It's been a while. I think it's been since we played on Thanksgiving, where we had a primetime game. You might remember, no matter how bad these two teams were, they always were very, very entertaining on any game. They're a great rivalry, and so it's nice to see the NFL putting them back on prime time. I guess that's just because it'll be a fun watch. I'm also extremely excited about, weirdly enough, the Patriots Chiefs game on Week 15. I really want the Chiefs just to beat the living crap out of the Patriots on prime time, and I always will feel like that. We got to give a little love to our guy Fletch. He does have a good Monday night game, and that's towards the end in the Giants. I'm going to go ahead and say this is going to be one of our future headlines episodes that I'm going to tease later today. It is the Lions are playing the Giants on Monday night, week 16, I think it is. Yes, week 16. I think the Giants are going to suck. I don't think they're going to be good. I said I don't think they're going to be good. And that's not because I'm a New York hater, a Giants hater. I just think there's a lot of weird stuff going on. Batch, I know you listened to Heed to Call. I know they've talked about this a little bit about how the vibes are on the Giants, but Harbaugh, I don't think he's a bad coach whatsoever, but I think it might take him a season to sort of get where he needs to go. And I'm also just not sold on this injury prone quarterback / injury prone running back that they've got that they're basing all their hopes on. Though I know I would probably get hung in the streets in New York right now if I went and said that. So I don't know. Do you guys have any hunch on that?
I don't know. They're unknown quantity, but at the same time, last season, he wasn't that at the Ravens. They weren't that good, if that makes sense. And his offensive coordinator has come to us and not followed him, and we've got a few of his offensive coaches come to the Browns instead of follow him. So that could be an interesting thing there, if that makes sense.
It could be. I'm sorry. By the way, all the games I just mentioned were all Sunday night football, not Monday night football. So on me.
I think the thing with the Giants is that if they can get Jackson Dart playing properly, then I think they will be okay. But it's, again, we saw a lot of it where he was scrambling a lot, and he was another one who picked up a couple concussion protocols, wasn't he? So again, that's something that you need to watch out for. I mean, Cam Scatterbo is just he's a walking nightmare when it comes to injuries because he's so full throttle with everything he does. But I don't know if they have enough on the offense to really properly really trouble teams.
Well, they've unfortunately Malik Neighbors they've said might not be ready for week 1. That's a big loss.
I don't think he'll be ready for at least until like week 6 properly.
And they've taken in 3 old men as far as wide receivers go.
Yeah, they brought in OBJ back, haven't they?
Yeah, and
which is crazy.
And
Juju. No, I think like I don't fault him for that because I think what's happened is
380 out in OTAs.
Well, it's a Dunze, right? And him not is it Dunze? I always mess up neighbors in the Dunze. They have neighbors, right? They have neighbors.
Yeah, neighbors.
Yeah, they've got
Dunze's on the Bears. Okay, sorry. Forgive me. I'm turning 45 this week. Things change. So I think with the new, I think they were expecting Malik to be ready for week 1, and so they've got to bring in some help, and probably I think you don't mess around with a young star wide receivers. His ACL. I can't remember what he tore. Anyway, MCL. His knees messed up. Yeah, so I think you got to give him time to heal. So you bring in some vets to kind of, who usually are, veteran players are usually better at the beginning of the season, right? Because they're not all beat up. They're not, they do wear down a little quicker. But maybe that, and
I think a lot of it is going to be down to. I think there's going to be a lot of rotation and committee based stuff because I think you look at like their whole wide receiver core. You've got Malik Neighbors, Darius Slayton, Darnell Mooney, Calvin Austin. I've obviously got Malachi Fields, who obviously is brand new. Right. Odell Beckham, Juju Smith-Schuster, Braxton Berrios. There's a lot of guys there, but a lot of them will switch roles and will probably be used sparingly. So you'll probably see a lot of different things with them. The one player I'm actually really looking forward to on that offense is Isaiah Likely. And I think he could take a step up from where he's been last year. And I could see him being used a fair bit just as like an outlet for Jackson Dart. So I'd be interested to see how Isaiah Likely does. And I think he could be quite interesting this year. But I think the way that they're probably going to win games will be more about defensive plays more than anything. Obviously, they added Arvell Reese into that defense. They've still got Thibodeau. They've still got. They brought in Tremaine Edmonds, didn't they, as well? Which obviously I think.
But they did lose. What's his name? Went to the Bengals.
Lawrence.
Yeah.
Still got obviously Brian Burns, Darius Alexander, DJ Reader. Like they've Greg Newsome. So they've got I think they've got a solid defensive team. I don't think it's necessarily going to pull up trees, but I do think it's going to make plays. And I think that's what will keep them in games. But when you start coming up against teams which have a much better offense, that'll be where I could see them losing out. And I think something like the Lions, where we know they can be quite inventive and quite hard to manage, I think that could be where they hit their problems, especially with teams like the Lions. So I don't think they'll be terrible, but I don't think they'll be great. I just think they'll be middle of the road, probably finish third or second, probably finish fourth in their division because of the fact that I do think the Commanders probably have a little bit more because obviously I think they've got a better quarterback. It's just about whatever pieces he has around him whether they can do anything. Yeah,
we'll see. Dan Quinn seems to have done this what he sort of did with the Falcons a couple years after the Super Bowl loss, which was he really loaded up on a lot of veteran talent to support the sort of really young core that he has. So a lot of 1 year sort of deals. So we'll see how this all works out for them. I think the command. I'd like to see Jaden Daniels do well. I actually because I think it's good to have young good quarterbacks playing well. So um, it's interesting. So I'm not sure quite where I sit with those Commanders just yet. So
I think
um,
it'll honestly depend on if because obviously they're still linked with getting Ayuk, aren't they? So if
yeah,
they can get Ayuk through the door, whether that's through free or through a trade, that'll obviously be important. They'll obviously still have Terry McLaurin. Obviously, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt did have a semi breakout year in his in that first last year. They added Rashad White. They've got Katron Allen. So I think they'll probably be doing a lot of running. They'll be having a lot of run plays going. But there's obviously, they've brought in Antonio Williams, Luke McCaffrey's still there, Traylon Burks, De'Ami Brown. They've got bits, but again, it's very similar to the Giants. Is can they work together and can it at least put up points? The difference being is that the Giants, I think, have a much better defense than the Commanders do right now.
that's totally fair. That is absolutely totally fair. Um, Also, before we finish off with these primetime games, I just want to say this. I do agree with the NFL.coms in that the best primetime game on the schedule, at least on paper, outside of the rematch of Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, which is going to be sometime, I think,
Thanksgiving.
on Thanksgiving, is the Christmas Day game where we're going to see the Rams travel up to the old Seattle Seahawks,
Freeman Fields, yeah.
Lumen Field, the 12th man. And we're gonna see that rematch finally from the NFC Championship game from last year.
Yeah.
So you
What should
so
have
how are you gonna? What's great is your Christmas Day is gonna be done. Everyone's gonna be asleep. The baby's gonna be the baby, your toddler is gonna be asleep. The little guy, the wife. God, God knows though, if it had been her birthday, it just would have just Anyway, I know she doesn't listen, so this doesn't matter. So, anyway, would you agree, Batch? As
Yeah.
another nonpartisan.
Oh yeah. I will actually spend time to watch the Rams this season if they don't collide with the Browns fixture, because I want to see the boy do well and get a ring.
Pat,
Miles Garrett.
there we go. Batch, though, I will have to say, and I don't know if Sam knows this rule. I have a very strict rule. When we're talking about American sports, we use American lingo. When we talk about European or UK sports, we use UK lingo. We do not say fixture. We say time. We say game. So I will. It's a strict rule when I'm co-hosting. All right. So
I'm
it's a
sorry.
field, not a. It's not a pit. It's not a pitch. It's a field. But I show you the same respect on the other side. All right.
Yeah,
So there we go.
apologies.
There we go. It's a coach, not a manager. I got a
Oh
little
yeah.
bit of. Hey, when you make Sam smile, that's something. When you at least get him a little crack over there, Mister Serious over here. So, all right, guys.
You're
In
joking.
all seriousness, let's. I mean, this just feels like we're on a 2 week Rams. We should just start calling ourselves the
Keep it
Head
Rams.
of the Rams.
yeah,
Head of the Rams.
The Royal Rams. There we go. Just get some sort of whatever. Anyway, um, so the Super Bowl odds have changed a little bit, but as no surprise to anyone, the favorite to win the Super Bowl this year is the LA Rams by a decent amount. They're plus 550 or plus 500, depending on what site you're looking on. Um, then it goes Ravens, Bills, Seahawks, and the Ravens, Bills, Seahawks are all about in that same space. They're about plus 100 or 1,000, sorry, or plus 1,100, depending on the odds you're getting. I don't know what that is in that weird decimal thing that you guys do here in the UK. I apologize. Um, how you feeling about that?
Um, I
No,
can't.
not talking to you, Batch. I'm talking to our
Nah.
friend who's the Rams fan, and then I'll get
Um,
to you.
I think it's It was to be expected. I think even without the Myles Garrett, I think we were favourites for the Super Bowl again this year anyway.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's just then been added with the fact that we've added Myles Garrett and with the potential talks, obviously, as it's all going to be about Aaron Donald coming back. I think the biggest thing will be is how we play. I think once we get through those first few games, I wonder how it will change because obviously it is a tough schedule. And I wonder how that'll impact the overall. But I think the one thing is that it doesn't matter how good your team is. I think it can be so unpredictable when it comes to the playoffs and stuff like that. That until we as I was when we had Arsenal, when Arsenal were challenging for the title, I'll never be that person who's like, oh, we're definitely going to win the league or we're going to win the Super Bowl. I'll always be realistic in the sense that we've still got to win 17 games first and then the playoff games before we can even consider it. I think the biggest thing is if we can get home field advantage for once, because then we could potentially have a home stretch of just pure SoFi
all the way to the
Stadium
Super Bowl. Yeah.
play. So that's going to be, I think, in terms of as a target, will be the target is make sure you get the number one seed and then you have a home run the whole way through.
I gotta say, this is something we don't talk about that much. It was like 50 something years and no team had hosted the Super Bowl and won it. No team had even like been in the Super Bowl that was hosting. And then it happened back to back years. Is that not the weirdest thing ever? Like 50 years of something. And then it happened twice in a row. Just like there'd have never been overtime. There'd never been overtime in a Super Bowl. And then happened in the Falcons Patriots. But anyway, it's just very weird. Anyway, yes, the LA is hosting the Super Bowl this year. So therefore, if they do get home field advantage throughout the playoffs and keep winning, they could just basically stay home, which would be huge.
I think what's interesting is that although we are favorites for the Super Bowl and everything, all of that, our over under is still only 11.5, which is the same as the Ravens, same as the Seahawks, and only that for a team that's like I watched some fool on one of the podcasts in America talking about how now that we've got Myles Garrett, we're going to go 17-0, and it's like, come on, let's be realistic. There are losable games in that run.
Yeah.
But I do think that I don't think it's necessarily going to be an easy run in terms of I don't think we're going to just go and win 17 games and then go on and win every single game. I just don't see that happening.
No.
It was also not the way that McVay likes to play ball. He likes to make it difficult. So I think we'll lose a couple of games in there, and it wouldn't surprise me if it goes down to the last game. And I know they're trying to make the 17th, week 18 more on the line with putting certain games at the end. Now, obviously, with us playing the Seahawks last game, they probably want to put some, something special on that game, make sure that there's actually some competitive element to it rather than, second and third stringers playing the whole game. But I'd like to hope that we'll be in a position where we don't have to worry about that game, because having that run-in of Bucks, Seahawks is just horrendous as an ending.
Yeah. On the other side of things, Batch, I wanted to get your thoughts on any of the Super Bowl odds here.
To be honest, I'm surprised that Seahawks are, realistically, they're tied second. I thought they would be a little bit lower, defending champions. And then an outsider, I think Broncos could be an outsider if they build on what they had last year. Because realistically, if it weren't for Bo Nix's broken ankle and the freak snowstorm, they could have won their game.
Yeah. So just so you guys know, I've got this little tracker here. So Seattle was the favorite up until the end of March. And then it just kept going back and forth between sets. So when it goes back and forth like that, that's the betting markets. And then after the draft, weirdly enough, after the draft, where the Rams picked Ty Simpson, a player that won't be playing 13th overall this year, more than likely, uh, uh, barring anything catastrophic to Stratford. Um, they have steadily, yeah, and then now they're like a heavy favorite. So interesting. The one thing, Sam, that is going to be, everybody who plays Seattle is going to give them their best because they're the Super Bowl winners. But you guys, I think, are going to get the exact, and it's not your fault. Like no one's going to, but just by the way you're playing the offseason, I think you're going to get everybody's best punch in the face as well. So I think that's interesting. But you know what? I have a lot of respect for McVay. I have a ton of respect for Stafford. He's one tough dude. I want to see if you guys can do it. You don't need to win 17 games. You need to win probably 12 to 13 to win your division. And obviously beating the Seahawks at least once or twice, who are going to be your contenders. I'm interested to see where the 49ers go. You got the AFC West too. So you are going to be able to measure your mantle against a really, really good division on the other side. So, like you said, if you win it, you'll have gone through a good gauntlet this season. So, do we think of anything of the NFC North this season? Do we think because I mean, if you remember going into the last season, man, everybody was like Vikings, Packers, Lions, and it was just a fizzle of it. Obviously the Bears. So all four teams. Sorry, forgive me, Chicago. We are not an anti-Bears podcast, despite Fletch's
the Indiana Bears,
the Indiana Bears, the Hammond Bears. But do we think anything about that? Because I think going into that season, we really thought there might be three contenders, if not all four of them. So.
I can see and again, this isn't trying to glaze our producer, but I do think I can see the Lions bouncing back this year.
Absolutely.
And they had a particularly poor year. I think, obviously it didn't work out with their offensive coordinator, and sometimes that just happens, especially after losing.
I mean, they lost Ben Johnson. I mean, and I think they tried to downplay it a little bit, and obviously
I think it was a massive impact on them. And again, that was a massive impact for the Bears as well. I think they massively benefited from that. But I can see the Lions. If the Lions can get back to what we know the Lions can do, I think that they'll be up there contending. I think that the interesting thing with the Bears is it'll be interesting to see how they now move forward, because obviously, Colston Loveland's is in his second year now, who's probably likely going to be the number one tight end. He has to be the number one tight end. Obviously, they don't have DJ Moore, so how's Dunze, Luther Burden going to step up into those roles? And then the running back situation hasn't really changed. So again, can Caleb, can the Bears finally have a 4,000 plus yard thrower? That'll be the talk, I think. Can Caleb back up what he's done last year with potentially going on another run this year? Packers, I'm not too convinced by the Packers still. There's just something about them that just doesn't feel right. Obviously, not having is Parsons going to be available week one?
No, he said
no.
Oh, it's week 6. Sorry, week 6 or whatever it is. So again, it'd be interesting to see how that plays a part. And obviously, they brought in Zaire Franklin, which I think is a fantastic move for them. But I'm just never convinced by the Packers' offense. That's my big concern.
they've lost a few bits on the offensive line too, haven't they?
Possibly, I don't know. I'm not really, to be honest, I've not kept up with the Packers because there's something about them. They always seem to put me off. And obviously, they did. Was it Dobbs or Reed that they lost this year? The Dobbs.
They lost Romeo Dobbs.
Yeah. And Devon, whatever his name is, Wicks. They lost him as well, didn't they? So I don't know. If they're an odd team, the Packers. They can cause upsets, but I mean, at the moment, the Packers are 20-1 Super Bowl, to win the Super Bowl, and the Bears are 5-1. which I would have probably put the Bears higher. The Lions are 18-1. I'd probably agree with that. And then the Vikings, we'll just have to see what happens to the Vikings, to be honest.
Well, also remember that this is, there's several things here. It's the schedule release and like the timing of when they're away, what they're traveling. One other thing that's become, listening to Sharp Football, which is a podcast. Can't listen to it all the time, but I do like it. And they just talk a lot about, there's a lot, the days of rest now are such a things because the problem is the NFL now has sold so many different packages to so many different TV and streamers that they have to give these guys good games now. And so that means that they have to get, the 49ers a couple years ago got banged by this, but like teams get really, really you're probably going to be part of that. Like the Rams, like when you get success, like you're going to play more primetime games, you're going to be traveling and they don't do things to make everything fair. Like they used to try to make the schedule as neutral as possible. But now it's about how many good games we get. Like this Christmas Day, this Black Friday, the pre-Thanksgiving games. I hate it. Like I honestly like I love football. I do what makes football special is that it's not every day and that it's not all the time. And that's the thing that I'm really anti NFL. But all getting back to my point was that you really got to watch read up on some of the like what the rest days are going to be for some of these teams because it's not about the first, oh, you're playing there, they're bad, but it's we're playing like 3 games in 11 days. Like that's hard on these players. And then you have like a division game coming on that fourth game after, so anyway,
yeah,
that's a thing to look at.
going on that Sharp Football analysis on their 2026 NFL schedule rest disparity.
That's right.
The Bears have the highest net rest edge of plus 15. Compare that to the Chargers negative 24.
Yeah, they're bang, man.
That is horrendous.
That's brutal, man.
I mean, and even the Eagles obviously have a minus 15, but there's a negative 9 difference between the Chargers and the next one up, which is the Eagles.
Yeah,
but again, Buffalo benefit from it, Dallas benefit from it, and Seattle do. So, I'm trying to find San Fran's bang on 0.
no,
We're on minus 6. Falcons plus 7. It's not too bad.
not too bad.
Browns, where are you?
Probably low.
There's Baltimore. Oh, you're on even keel with the 49ers. Detroit have a plus 1. Minnesota have a plus 4. And the other team in that division, the Packers, have a negative 2. So yeah, that's obviously going to play a massive part and probably will benefit the Bears a lot going into their division as well.
Yeah. Well, we will see. We've got a lot of time to think about it and figure it out, don't we, guys?
Oh yeah.
I know Fletch is going to get mad at me, which is one of the things I forgot to write down. I forgot to tell the audience, if you're still listening, which thank you for still listening, please make sure to follow us on social media. We have all the links below. Subscribe. Please follow us on the Discord. We are making a big push for this summer. This is going to be our 3rd season, third of the line going into the season. We're very excited. Obviously, we have made some changes around. We'll probably be adding some new people, but we are excited about this new season, and we need you to follow us. We need to grow this, and make sure you follow the fantasy pod that Sam's going to be doing. I believe you drop on Thursdays, right?
Yeah, so we film on Thursday, drop on Fridays. That may change when season comes round, but yeah, anyone who loves to play Devy Leagues, go and check out the last episode. It's actually really interesting. We spoke with Phil, who's one of his favorite areas is talking about Devy Leagues. So
I don't even know what that is, but as somebody who lost 2 championships last year, I probably need a little advice. And then there's also the college pod, which I do believe records on Wednesday, goes up on Thursdays. A lot going on in college football right now, so please pay attention to that. And then just continue to follow and support the show. We're very grateful. I will be gone for the next couple of weeks, so Batch Sam or Batch and Fletch or Fletch and Sam, some combination of that will be holding it down. When I get back, we are going to do headlines from 2027. Yes, we already know what's going to happen in 2027. So between us, the Hurdle Line guys, we're going to tell you headlines from the future. Yes, that's right. So you're going to need to make sure to tune into that in about 3 to 4 weeks. In the meantime, guys, take care of yourself. Yeah, hurdle that strength of schedule.